You in Georgia, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We should be live right now. Let me peace family. This brother Rich. This brother Rich with the brother Rod. Cool. Gonna have a dope show tonight. You know, I'm on my this is the time to get your spirit right, family. This time we in right now. Time for self-reflection, all this solitude that we're experiencing. Man, if y'all not tapping in within, I don't know what y'all doing. So fasten on your seatbelts. This is gonna be it's gonna be one of them rides tonight with my brother Rod Cool. It's gonna be one of them. You can hear me, right, my brother?
Yes, I can. You can hear me loud and clear, right?
Yeah. I could definitely hear you. All right, before we get started, let me see what's going on in the chat room. Yeah, peace to everybody in the chat. All right, I see y'all rocking out in the chat. Yeah, it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's a wonderful time to be alive, indeed. You know, and I'm not trying to downplay what anybody's going through, but it is a wonderful time to be alive in terms of change, amazing change occurring in your personal life and also in society as a whole. And we got to be on the right side of history, family. Before we get started, let me let you. This show is brought to you by the I Magi Nation Workshop. This is a virtual workshop that's going down May 23rd. This is featuring Billy Carson. It's 6 hours. And I advise everybody to go to forbiddenknowledge.com. That's forbidden with the number four, forbiddenknowledge.com, and sign up. It's something that is life changing. And I haven't done a show. Last show I did was on Monday with Professor Griff. And if you're wondering why Rich ain't do a show, listen, I'm having so much fun just going within right now that, you know, I'm neglecting certain things that I used to consider extremely important. And you know, we're gonna be talking about paradoxes today. Paradoxically, or if that's a word, things are going better for me than I was when I was hustling harder. You know, it's like I'm hustling easier now. Shit is what we call easy, or maybe I'm just going with the flow. You know, they say, you know, when the water's going one way, don't fight the ocean. So I guess I'm just going with the flow right now. So, you know, I don't have to work as hard to get certain results, man. And that's important. And you only do that by going within, man. So if you can, like I said before, if you can't go outside, go within. And that's what this workshop is all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be so much. Matter of fact, Billy Carson gonna be on here tomorrow, so I saved that for tomorrow. But family, make sure you sign up to that workshop. We're gonna have the 30-day WhatsApp group going on after that. It's gonna be awesome. Also, shout out to Ancient Herbal Care. You go to their website, ancientherbal.care.com. They got a lot of great products for your body. Shout out to King Simon. That's the man when it comes to numerology. So many spiritual sciences out here that are beneficial to us. Numerology is definitely on top of the list. It is something. It's basically it's the language of the universe, numbers. So shout out to my brother King Simon. Also, my brother Riverside Tai Chi with the joint balance formula. Everybody make sure you'll go to the brother's website. He got a special going on when you get 3 bottles. That brother got amazing products, and he been doing real good advertising on my channel. So shout out to that brother. And I think that is it for today. Rod Cool. You ready to get started, my brother?
Indeed.
All right, so family. Give me a second, fam. So the thing about life, family, and we're all on this journey figuring out what life is all about. Sometimes we say, yeah, I know that, I already know that. We really don't know the shit. We just say that we think we know it. We know it on one level, but don't know it on another level. So, and the interesting thing about life is the more you learn, the more you find out you don't know sometimes. So when somebody learns and they think they know everything, you pretty much know where that person is headed. So I mean, this shit just gets so interesting sometimes. Um, and the thing about the paradox of life is that a lot of the most important truths in lives are those that are contradictory on the surface. So it seems illogical. It seems strange and illogical. The last conversation I had with the brother Akhu, we were talking about free will versus destiny. And I'm big on the law of attraction, or what I call the law of projection, because our reality we project it. And I'm big on the power of my thoughts and the power of my emotions, and how this how just manifesting our reality. And the brother Raku was like, "Yo, Rich, man, this shit is already plotted. You think you're doing this shit, man? This shit is already destined." So I'm like, "Nigga, how is it destined?" It required right now. I make the decision. If I make the decision to think a negative thought, I know the results are. Or if I make a decision to think a positive thought, I know what the results of that's going to be. So I could decide right now what he calls the stars. I could decide whether I go take the left side of the road or the right side of the road. So it's very interesting to have this conversation with him. And the brother saying even that, me thinking that was already predetermined. So I mean, shit, this shit get real interesting. But Raku, let's get into the last thing you told me, my brother, was that the free will happens when we're in the spirit realm. That's when we decide what life we're gonna choose. But by the time we get down here, the game is already decided. So you say, yeah, free will happens on another plane, if I'm calling you right. But once we descend into matter, ain't no free will, it's just destiny. The planets are guiding us. So elaborate on that a little bit, if I said that right, if I didn't, correct
I
me.
just only fine tune it.
Yeah, please do.
Because you have the gist.
Yes.
So, first of all, I don't really know if we have free will at all, even on that side. I don't know what anything about that side. I infer that we made our choice there for the sake of we experience the illusion of choice, the illusion of ownership, the illusion of control right here. So therefore, there has to be some basis in reality for the illusion and on the spiritual level. So I imagine that we chose our path before we got here. Now, in scientific terms, and when I say science, I'm saying what you can observe with your naked eyes repetitiously in a scheduled chronological order. That when we look at this shit in hindsight, everything that you decided to do and everything you accomplished and even your failures are written into the pattern of the solar system from the moment you're born. And see, I can prove that. This is not an opinion. People say, I don't believe that, You see, it's not a matter of belief. It's like when you know that 2 + 2 = 4. And you can find logistical means by which to warp those concepts and come up with 5 and 6, 3 with 2 and 2, right? But the real laws of mathematics, 2 objects plus 2 more objects is 4, and you can't break that, right? So when you say, like you say, I'm hard on the law of attraction. If we could get the charts of your grandparents and your son's chart, you see, and leave you out of the equation, you knowing your life, and we read what your son's chart says his father will accomplish. And then we read what your grandparents' charts say you will accomplish. Now, the trick to that is, and there's a trick to that, because astrology is technological. It isn't arbitrary in the very least. So we would have to know your grandmother's ascending sign, you see? And a lot of focus isn't given to that feature of the birth chart in order to be able to find your mother's place in her chart and then your place in your mother's place. And your grandmother's chart will describe the path you chose to live. You see? So now, then
her sun sign?
Finish. No, we need her rising sign.
Oh.
Petition is going to be the spoiler of this thing, because you're going to make me lose my thought. Now, we turn to your son's chart, and we find the place in your son's chart that describes the father. And we find the planet that gives indication of that sign, that, you know, the ruler of that sign, that sits in the place of the father, okay? And then we find that in the chart and we track its motion. And the aspects to it will describe your situation. Now, your reality in your son's birth chart and in your grandparents' charts. So when you actually do that research, when you look at that and then you do it repetitiously, I didn't just look at my grandmother's chart and look at myself and look at my mother's chart, look at myself and look at my chart, look at my mom's chart. I've been doing this shit for 30 years, looking at the interrelationships of people and how the chemistry works. Everything is predestined, man. Everything. So, I mean, it's because everything is locked in a functional modality. See, like you say, I can decide. You can't decide nothing that wasn't shown to you to decide, if the power of decision exists. In other words, I like butter almond ice cream better than chocolate ice cream. I chose fucking butter almond ice cream, right? Number one, did I really? Butter almond was here before me. It'll be here when I'm gone. I chose from what was already there. The choices are already made, you see? And you can't choose nothing that is not. And another thing I get with these people, my wife made a very important point. She said, ask the people, what the real reason why they can't accept that they don't have no control is because they want control. They need to feel in control. At the same time, they will say that all of this is an illusion, right? That lamp, that light is all artificial. I mean, those are swarms of atoms in reality, right? So now everything is a swarm of atoms. This is a swarm of atoms. Nobody with a scientific education will refute that. Molecules and atoms. So this is illusory. This is an illusion. So then you're going to tell me that you're going to take your mind that you have no control over. First of all, stop thinking just for 5 seconds. See, you have no control. Think in another language other than the one you were taught. See, you can't do that. So how much control do you have over your mind, really? You're going to take something that you can't fully control, which is your mind, and you're going to control a motherfucking illusion. That's how stupid it sounds to me, because I've looked at the mechanics. I've looked at, let's say, Kobe Bryant. Yo, let's do some simple math right now on Kobe Bryant's birth chart, okay? His Saturn and his Pluto degree, mathematically, where the two planets sat in the circle of his chart, from our perspective on this earth, they were 41 degrees and 26 minutes of arc apart. Now, the significance of that is that Pluto represents death and Saturn represents collisions and accidents and impacts, okay? And they were the rulers of his children. On one hand, Pluto is the ruler of his house of children. And Saturn is the ruler of the house that rules his second child. Okay? This is not shit I done made up. This is classical, ancient, as far back as you can find definition to the motions of the planets. Definition. Okay? So they were 41 degrees and 26 minutes of arc, geometrically apart. Now, it just so happens that he died in a fall with his second child. Exactly what them two planets say without even considering the measure. The measure is what cut your head off if you say that it's coincidental. Because he died exactly when you convert the geometry of 41 degrees and 26 minutes of arc to equate to years. That he was only 48 hours older than he should have been when he should have died. In other words, the math is only 48 hours off. How do we rectify that 48 hours? I am using solid minutes, solid degrees of arc, but there were some seconds of arc. And when you figure those seconds of arc into the matter, you add more days onto his life, you add 48 more hours. He died exactly at the moment that his chart said he would. Huh? And the person that was with him was indicated by the two planets that also indicated his death. His second child and his child, his offspring. You dig? She was his child, and it was the second one, basically, is what the chart said. So in retrospect, did he really choose to get in that fucking helicopter? Did he really choose to even buy the motherfucker? See, and when we look at his daughter's chart for that day, see, we didn't just look at Kobe's chart, we looked at his daughter's chart. She was in an Uranus opposition, which any astrologer would say, be mindful dealing with technology. Accidents happen while Uranus is square or oppose specific planets, okay, triggering planets. The planets that trigger the accident. Uranus comes in opposition or 90 degrees to it. We can use history to prove that. So when we look at situations like that, you consider the fullest dynamics. He was a basketball star. He was rich. He chose to buy a fucking helicopter. There goes. He chose to buy it, but his chart said, and his daughter's chart give full indication of their death in full description accurately. I challenge anyone to say, you know, this is where you get the logic that, well, then you can have a knowledge. Knowledge is the key here. If you have knowledge of the fact that Saturn is going to, you can base your decisions with that knowledge. Indeed, that is how the illusion is set up. You actually have the illusion of choice. But when you get to the nitty gritty of it, how much choice is really gotten when we have a tangible means, irrefutable. The arrangement of the planets at the time of your birth are irre-fucking-futable. You can't argue with the math. Saturn was here, Jupiter was here, Mars was here, and things happen in your life when by progression, which is a ratio, which is, they say is theoretical science, but really it has everything to do with resonance and harmonics. they just ain't, they research. You can't refute what you haven't researched, first of all. You see? And so when these planets make certain motions to each other in certain relationship with one another, the incidents that affect the life are described by the classical definitions of those planets. So therefore, after observing this for years, I'm only able to read a person's chart and tell them the things that have happened to them because I'm interpreting the stations and the motion of specific planets that describe that human nature, that quality of human nature. You see? I'm only able to do it because of that. So it made me wonder, like, when I first started understanding this science, getting to the comprehension of it, it was all about me. It was my chart. I was just studying my chart, nobody else's. And I was amazed that I was getting it right because it took me a couple of years to find the formula, the math, to learn the math that is necessary to process a chart so you can reach a conclusion. You see, a lot of people thinking it's like a crystal ball, that it's some intuitive process. And you got people out there that claim that they're doing it by intuition because they want to be accepted for the bullshit that they're doing. You see, they want to call that shit astrology. They should call it what the fuck it is. You know, the astrology involves math. Firstly and foremostly, there is no astrology without math. What you have is delineation and people interpreting. When the motion of the planets in our solar system concur with your experience before you was written, before you were here, because your chart describes your unborn grandchildren. It describes the path in life that they would take, dog. You know what's deep is the place in my grandmother's chart that describes me is the third place because I am the first child of her fourth child. So we locate the fourth child in her chart and look at the first child of the fourth child. And It's the sign of astrology and the planet of Jupiter and Mars. But it describes more than just that, right? I excelled in science in school. I got fucking awards and recognition ribbons for artwork and for science. You see, and science is the sign of Aquarius too. But it even gets to the point that I have been in a crowd of people running from the police, dog. I used to do it on a regular because we used to vend and bootleg T-shirts. You know about that being in NY. You know, those bootleg T-shirts. We sell every parade, every fucking event. We out there selling T-shirts, and we have to scramble to get away from the police. That's even in that description. So the things that I think I chose, really, I think I did choose to be an astrologer. One day, I fixed it in my mind that I was going to come to an understanding of this shit. How much of that was me really choosing to do it, or me, my soul, my spirit, my God spark, following the destiny that it had already chose? Because when you look at my grandmother's chart, it shows what the fuck I was going to choose to do. When you look at my mother's chart, it exactly shows what I chose to do. When you look at my brother's chart, like it's crazy how my brother's chart describes me, you know? So this is when I came to this understanding, you know, that's like the second level of enlightenment, is when you realize who you are. When you realize you don't know shit. You see? And astrology is just the science of concurrences. These things concur unerringly. So mathematically and descriptively, they concur perfectly always. And we can take it to the chart of the guy, I forget the white boy name, but he died. He played on a Fast and Furious, and he died in Palmdale, California, while I was there. And I forget his name really, but y'all know who I'm talking about. He started off with the first two Fast and Furiouses, and he died in a car accident, right? Well, the glyph, the planet that says car, is Jupiter, all right? And the planet that says accident is Uranus, right? Now he had these within 96 degrees apart when he was born. You see, they were 6 degrees from a perfect square. Let me put it that way, because I might not be recollecting. They might have been 60 degrees from a square, which means they were 84 degrees apart. Or they might have been 6 degrees from a square on the other end, which would mean they were 96 degrees. At any rate, the perfect aspect was met at the number 6 degrees. So when you understand the procedure for prediction, it is one of the procedures for prediction, because there are several, right? Is 1 degree equals 1 year. So that worked for Kobe Bryant's chart. It also worked for his chart. So I'm giving 2 examples. See, I'm not just spewing my opinion because I fucking feel that we don't have no will. I have actually tried to find where we do. You see? And I haven't found it yet, right? So let me continue. So when we look at this using the rule for prediction on his chart, 1 degree equals 1 year. Well, automatically, for those who are mathematically inclined, it's a base 30 equation. So when we get to 30, we're starting all over again. Okay? So it was 6 degrees apart, which means that at the age of 6, he experienced some shit. Also, conversely, at the age of 24, because it works both ways in a 30-year frame, that planet describes 2 processes. Before he even is at his birth, it describes these events right there. Just like at Kobe's birth, it describes his death perfectly, right there, mathematically. Okay. So, but let me continue. So when we look at the age of 30, it resets itself. So then we got 6 more years, and it means that the general rule says these 2 planets meet again. And Paul was his name. I forget his last name now. Okay, that might come to me. Paul drove his car at the moment that these 2 planets came into a perfect geometrical square and got to a car accident concurrently, right? So we would argue that he chose to get in that car. Had he chose something different, that's the catch right there. Had he, but he didn't choose something different. So all your hypothetical opinionating based on if and had he are fucking stupid in the face of reality. when in reality, he made the choice that his chart, that his birth chart said he would fucking make. So if he does have the power of choice, you're gonna choose your fucking destiny every time. You think, and your destiny is already written. You see, it has to already, the conditions of the air have to already be set before it could rain. But people are too busy looking at the rain. So I got control over this. I decide to do this. You're only looking at the fucking rain. You're not looking at the nature of hydrogen and oxygen and the nature of electromagnetism that cause them to coalesce and vibrate together to create a raindrop. You see, you're only looking at the raindrop. So when people say to me, oh man, you got choice, apparently we do. I'm not going to argue with that. Apparently we do. But I can show you someplace else where it absolutely cannot be refuted. See, and the catch is this. Right? So you're like, so read my chart and tell me something that's going to happen that I had no choice over. See, we can't really do that until hindsight. And this is where people get astrology and astrologers fucked up. In hindsight, it's always 2020. You see, I might say, damn, President Trump is getting ready to have a Mars tomorrow. And I can be totally accurate with my math. And this is where the astrologer cannot assure you 100% accuracy. Mars takes 1,000,000 forms. Those forms are all exclusively Mars, but it takes 1,000,000 forms. So how the fuck do I know what form Mars is going to take tomorrow? I don't. As an astrologer, I can say, well, Mars represents military issues, and he's the president, so it's very likely. You see, this is where not skepticism. I'm speculating. This is where the speculation comes in at, because Mars can mean 1,000,000 Mars things. It could be a nosebleed. He could nick himself shaving. He could get into an argument with his wife. He could get irritated with the fucking chambermaid, with the bra that changes sheets or whatever the fuck. Okay? Any of that is Mars. He could decide to get a haircut. He could decide to play a game of checkers for that matter. He could decide to surround himself with armed officers. See, so there are too many things that Mars represents. The only time we know what Mars was pointing at, specifically in the Mars group, is we look at it in fucking hindsight. And in hindsight, it's right there. And it was always there. Because we can choose to look at a chart for the year 2059, October 10th, 2059. We can go look at that chart right now. And the child that is born on that day is going to carry the nature described and indicated by that chart, not caused by that chart, but described and indicated by the planets in that chart. So technically, that child's life is already written right now. So when a child grows up and chooses to do the things that are in its chart without any knowledge of the chart, that child's exercising the power of choice, apparently. But I guarantee you, when we get that accurate time of birth and place of birth, that chart will describe everything that this person chooses and the time that they will choose it. So yeah, I'm going to be stuck with the same perspective on us not having a will, because it is apparent that we operate as though we do. It is apparent that you are different than me. You see? You are you and I'm me, and I'm not you, nigga, and you not me. But in reality, God, there's no difference between you and I. We are both the God spark manifesting right here, the very same God spark. So that we just came in at different times to have a different experience. Here it's we on a spiritual dimension for real. There's no fucking differentiation. We all are molecules in the same bucket of water. we pour that water into different glasses and we identify ourselves by the glass that we're in, as opposed to the water, which comes from a universal source, a hydrogen and oxygen coalescing to make itself, the agent of our lives, right? So you understand that dimension and degree, you already realize that every atom is here to play a certain role so a certain reality can manifest. What makes you any different? To play a role. How do you know that for real, your purpose on this planet is to do nothing but give birth to the boy who gives birth to the girl who gives birth to the boy who discovers the cure for cancer? That may be your only reason for being here. And all this other shit just added just so that you'll play your role and pull that off and make that child. You see, that's gonna make the child that makes the child. See, so when you look at multi-generational charts and the charts of the times, history, okay, we can look at the charts for when they dropped the atom bomb, for when the stock exchange 2 or 3 years ago, maybe more than that, but it went out in China and in New York spontaneously in real time. The stock crashed and there was a power grid where they did the stocks at. There was a power grid outage, and there was one in New York, spontaneous. But when you look up the astrocartography of that, you'll find that the same multitude of lines, planetary lines that were going through New York, were also going through the same city that they were holding them stocks meeting at, that stock exchange at in China. So when you see that, that's also more confirmation for how you're going to say you chose, you create this reality. There's nothing here you created. You didn't create a motherfucking thing here. Not even your thoughts.
Akhu, hold on, let me make sure. All right, so basically we're following a program. You know, we've been programmed since birth, and we have a program that we have to follow. Have you ever seen the show Westworld on HBO or Showtime?
I saw the original Westworld with Yul Brynner.
Okay, so
I was 9 years old.
Yeah, that was a long, yeah. Well, I never
it's
seen
the same shit. The remake is the same. It's just new special effects on the same.
So in Westworld, you know, they got this simulated society with robots and stuff like that. And the robots do their function. They're programmed, like say a robot is, they have a woman who she's programmed to be a whore. So every episode, she's a whore. They have a dude that's programmed to be a gunslinger, a Westerner. So he goes around shooting up the place. Everybody has a program that they're programmed to do, pretty much like we're all programmed. We have certain talents or whatever. In the movie, when the robots became conscious of themselves, they started disobeying the program. The creator of the program said, what the hell's happening here? She's not supposed to do that. He's not supposed to do that. So,
you know, this is a what if. It's all leads to a what if. Go ahead.
Right. So, using that as an analogy, say we're programmed, and there's a divine computer programmer who programmed us, which is our ego's AI, it's artificial intelligence. So we was programmed just like the robots in the movie was programmed. Now, once we become conscious of ourselves and we wake up in a dream and we have lucid living, like we have lucid dreaming, isn't that when we have the choice? Isn't that when we just make decisions? Just like the robots, they follow the script, but once they became conscious of themselves, that's when the programmer was like, oh shit, they have self-awareness. So
okay, the only question here is, we're not robots. We have self-awareness from the jump. It's just not.
Well, we're artificial intelligence. Our ego is artificial intelligence.
I'm not going to dispute that at all. I'm not in dispute of that at all. But yes, we are puppets, robots. And see, I years ago, like at the age of 28 and 29, when I first started examining this paradigm, this particular facet of the paradigm, I was like, there's no way. I decide. You see, but until you actually look, like for example, at the birth chart of your grandmother, God, and then you have to make the measure and comparison to know that it has astrological indication. See, until you get that look, then any opinion you formulate is not fully informed. That opinion is not based on, it's the exact same reason why I don't believe that there are aliens here on Earth from other planets and solar systems. Because Jupiter describes the functionality of our liver. Mercury describes the functionality of our breath, okay? Venus, our pissing, okay? So, and our ability to do this follows the laws that operate on the same mathematical fractal, on the fractal of the motion of that planet. So then I would imagine that life is complete throughout the universe. Water is water, no matter where you find it, no matter what planet you find it on. So that they would have to come from an identical solar system to ours, basically, in order to fucking exist here. Because that which regulates the flow of electromagnetic energy that we call thought from the contact to the brain and back to the place so we know that it's actually being touched or whatever. That functionality operates on the same math that the motion of the planet Mercury operates on. So if this alien comes from another solar system, how is their generator compatible with ours? And how is it not? You know, for every number of planet we have a functionality and a time system. We have 7 major organs, basically, and 12 major systems, you see? And astrologically, that shit works perfectly. So if there are mutants here, or, I mean, there are mutants here, pardon me. If there are aliens or extraterrestrial intelligent life walking down here among us, they would have to take our form. They would have to come through the vortex the same way or similar to the way we do in order to have functionality. You see, so when you understand that aspect, the mechanics of the fact that you are the solar system. See, they say you are the universe is you. But you are the solar system, particularly the form it took at your advent. The form it took at your advent is the modus operandi of their solar system, because it personified itself in you and others too around you, okay? And everybody is a pinpoint concentration of the entirety of the universe. You know, like the core in an apple. That core has the seeds and the potential of everything that apple is. So we are that in reality. So we think that we're all different when we are all the same universe. We are all the same energy, right? We accept the illusion of individuality. We took on this shell of experience that allows for the illusion of individuality to experience the illusion of individuality. Just like we are here to experience hunger, to experience sadness, to all of that shit ain't real when you talk about the infinitude of energy. That shit is nothing. But it is still here to be done. So the debate with regards to the capacity to choose and the illusion of the capacity to choose is going to run forever and ever. My thing is, if everybody truly had the power of choice, then they could actually enforce how they think the world should run. And if you can decide how you think, we're going to disagree somewhere.
Right.
So if you could actually enforce your choice, then my world would be hell. Okay? And yours would be heaven. See, my wife gave me this example. This right here will show you that there is a law that needs to be followed in order for individuality to flourish. It's like the paradox of freedom and restriction, which is explained perfectly astrologically. Okay, freedom is Aquarius. But what the fuck is freedom? If I was truly free, I could walk in your house and chop your fucking head off and walk out with no consequence. You see? But freedom does not exist. Aquarius does not come into existence without first Capricorn coming into existence. And Capricorn represents discipline, restriction, responsibility. Once you are responsible, once you are able to distinguish what is real and practical, then you can do what you're free to do. So even freedom isn't free, it's a process. And that's really where I'm going. For everybody watching who wants to say, oh, no, man, because of this. What about this example? And this example, and this example. None of your examples undo the hindsight we just did on the dude, Paul, the white boy from the movie Fast and Furious, on the measure we just did on Kobe Bryant, on earlier demonstrations I've done on Malcolm X, or anybody else you want to pick, man. Like, I'm going to give you another example. Clarence 13X had Jupiter and Uranus in Aries in the 12th house, okay? Not only does that say knowledge of self, literally, he taught the knowledge of self. It says operator of the elevator in a religious institution. That seems trivial, but he was the operator of the elevator in temple number 7. Operator is Uranus, technician, operator, right? And elevator is Jupiter, going up. And Aries, he was on there by himself most of the time. You see, that was his only job right there. He didn't have to share that job or that delegation with anyone else. He was by himself. He didn't need no help. See, the chart describes that. But you would think that he chose to say, yeah, I will operate the elevator. He did. He did choose that. And his chart said he would. So where my question is, where's the real choice? Not the apparent choice, the real one. No one can show me that. It's as subjective as love. You can't give me a bucket of love, man. You can't. The only way you can show it by demonstration of humanity, you know.
Raku, in your 30 years of doing this, have you ever like read somebody and it was off and you had to adjust? You know, your
all the time. I still have to do that now. People come to me and say I was born at this time. When I use that time to look at the last 2 weeks, for example, right?
Yeah.
Everything in that schedule may be 2 or 3 days off. The reason for that is, man, clinical definition of birth, it depends on the extraction of the fetus from the infant from the mother. That's their definition of birth. I came out of my mother at this time. That's the clinical definition of birth. Really, astrologically, your chart begins when your blood is oxidized by the atmosphere, not oxidized by some artificial source or anything else. So it's when you take on those first ions, ionized by the planet and the sun. Those molecules of air, when they hit your blood system, this is when your chart starts. So all the time, people bring me birth charts that they need to change the time of birth in order for the motion to concur with their perception. It requires that we change the time. There has been occasions where I've made total mistake. I said that in one of my videos. I read a Sagittarius person with a Leo reading accidentally, because I get AM, PM fucked up. I'll get it fucked. It'll be a mistake that I made. And it still read the hell out of them. And the reason for that is that Leo and Sagittarius are signs of common affinity. They sound just like one another in delineation. So it wouldn't make a difference really if I gave them a Sag or a Leo, because of the same shit. They're composed of the same energy. You see? The only time it would make a difference is when we got to talk about physical injury and avoiding physical events. Trying to share.
Did you ever, you know how you said you did the chart on Kobe Bryant? You ever did a chart on Donald Trump to see what's
I looked at Donald Trump's shit. Do you know? Watch this. He has literally the planet Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It also represents spreading, right? And the planet Neptune is the planet for viruses. And he has both of those planets together in Libra, which says to any astrologer, this motherfucker will become a politician and have to deal with the outspread, with the outbreak of a disease. Yeah, blow on that. This person is calling me. They gotta know I'm doing a show right now. So at any rate, what I'm trying to say is, it's even a Trump chart that he would have to deal with this virus issue. You dig? Yeah, people say that he chose to run for president. People say that the Electoral College beat him, beat the public, beat the American public, and made him president. But it was in his birth chart that he would deal with the outbreak, which is Jupiter, of a disease, Neptune, even if it's a hoax, because Jupiter says big, says huge, it says massive, and fucking Neptune says hoax. So he also has pulled a hoax on the people. That's how he won the presidency. And he's also dealing with an outspread disease. So, but he chose to be president, right? See? So, I don't know, man. You know, let's say he gets assassinated. Somebody picks this nigga's wig off. It will show in the United States chart, the chart for the country, that their leader was killed.
Do you see that in this chart now?
I didn't even look for that. I do see the potential because he has Mars and Pluto conjunct, but so did Obama have Mars and Pluto conjunct. And where I thought that gave indication of Obama getting killed, it didn't. It gave indication of his mass killing, of the killings that he got up under his belt, as opposed to the way he would go out. It's still going to describe his death ultimately, and his death will be martial, but that there's no guarantee that that has to be by violence, because Mars also rules fire. It also gives indication to the blood. So this nigga can die of a brain aneurysm or blood pressure eventually, you see, and that would equally describe it.
Indeed. Wow, my brother. So basically, when we talk about the precession of the equinoxes.
Woo! Woo! Look, I just jumped. Rich just jumped on y'all. He hyper warped. He just hyper warping on. He's just zapping like the night crawler. From grade in the school building to the. We just went from first grade to the 10th year of college. Now let's run it. Precession of the equinoxes. Let's go.
When we deal with that,
this is my shit, dog. This is my shit. So go ahead. What question you got about that?
When we deal with that, do the sciences change? And when I say that, I mean,
I'm doing a show right now, bro. Okay? I'm not in control of the show. Oh, come to YouTube, man, and watch. Go to Black Magic 636 or 363. Black Magic 663. Black Magic is spelled with a K. That's what we broadcasting live right now. Okay. Now you're gonna make me just turn my phone off because I can't do that. You know, I can't just close it and people just honor that. Come enjoy the show. Peace, God. All right. I'll talk to him later, though. I will definitely call him. That's my man. Okay. He does Sidereal Estrada. This my nigga, bro, Ra. At any rate, he wasn't about to stop. So, yeah, I had to ask. At any rate, the precession of the equinoxes, man, is because we use the position of the.
Real quick, let me ask this before you go on, because I know this is your specialty right here. When we study our ancient history, we hear so many different things about who we used to be. I mean, I done heard it all. I heard we used to be able to fly. I heard we used to live in the water. I heard all types. I heard we used to just live here alone. We never used to eat. I mean, I done heard so many interests. I heard we used to be giants. So with the precession of equinoxes, and I'm hearing all these different things, and I'm like, it's so far-fetched from how we live now. I guess the laws were different now. Your science and what we're doing now, does it change with the precession of the equinoxes? Like what you're talking about now, is that only valid for a certain period of time because of the laws that's govern the universe right now, and then later on, your shit ain't gonna be valid anymore? Is that how this works?
I would say so, God. Some laws are in place that are immutable. They'll never change. All right. But I'm going to give you a perfect example, because most of the people that log into my school, when they come in, they have the preconceived, a lot of them have the preconceived notion that Astrology begins with chart interpretation. And I tell them that is the last phase of my of any astrological exercise in cosmophysics. Reading the chart is the finality. You have to actually make a measure, because it is from the measures that the meaning is even derived. All right. So without the measure, you don't know how long or when. What is the use of telling? It's like me telling you accident prone, God, but I can't tell you when you're gonna be accident prone. So what? Right? So it's the same thing with the precession of the equinox. Okay. The thing is, the sun has its own zodiac. No matter what the position of the constellations are, the zodiac that is a product of the sun's electromagnetic flux will never change. It never has. Thus, there will be a time when the 0 degree of Aries, tropical Aries, that will never change as long as the relationship between the sun and the earth remains. However, the relationship of the sun, the earth, and the solar system now, when you triangulate with using the constellations, then you will find that the 0 degree point where the sun and the earth are in such harmony that there are 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, that point in the sky moves back 1 degree every 72 years. And the significance, it moves backwards because it's like a top wobbling. The earth is also, it spins is one motion. It goes around the sun is a second motion. The third motion of the earth is the precession. It wobbles like a top. And that's where the celestial equator and the ecliptic, the celestial equator of the earth and the ecliptic of the sun, where it causes that point to appear to move backwards. So the whole cycle is 25,920 years. Now, at specific ages, the human collective is following that evolutionary path. So depending on the age will determine what faculties the universe is developing through the vehicle of man. Okay, prime example, during the age of Aquarius, we have succeeded in spreading technology universally all over the world. Every city is seeking to technologize. We have connected the entire world with an electronic device called the World Wide Web. That right there, when people say, well, I can control reality, stop that then, motherfucker. Stop this from being the age of Aquarius, nigga. You dig? You know, go back in time and notice that it was during the age of Pisces that religion became a political and prevalent mind frame of humanity, that it took hold to humanity. Go back to the age of Aries and see that this is the time where war was enabled you. This is when the cracker made his advent as a warrior in the age of Aries. You see, we taught him through the age of Taurus how to feed himself and how to build shelter for himself. I mean, look, when you go through all the ages and humanity is following the order of the zodiac. So you see, there's no dispute for that. You can't say that the religion wasn't the shit in the last 2,000 years and that technology and science is replacing religion. You can't sanely say that. That's not where humanity is going. So when we look at the precession of the equinoxes, let me continue. There's another motion called polar days. All right? And a polar day is 100 precession cycles. But at some point in the development of that cycle, the earth is leaning in a position to the sun that it is not today, that it can be vertical to the poles. And therefore we can have a daytime that lasts for 6 months. So the meanings of the planets, I say all of that to get to the point that the meanings of the planets change with the times. Today, Uranus describes the internet because the internet exists. If we were looking at the year 1520, the internet did not exist then, and thus Aquarius did not point to it. And Aquarius and Uranus would not mean the internet. Then it pointed to electrical storms and to getting shocked and getting impact and falling from great heights and shattering blows and invention, because invention has always been a part of man. But it wasn't the internet 80 years ago. It is the internet now. So it will mean other things in the future. What does not change is the ability to glean from the natural motion a rhythm that concurs with the chronology of living events. That will never change. What will change is when the earth is perpendicular, when the poles of the earth are perpendicular to the plane of the sun, we will have totally different meaning, totally different manifestation, totally different form. I agree with those people that say we were in the water, because we were. If you look at your body, you got scales. Your fingernails, your toenails, those are scales, dog. Your feet, you got webbing in your hands still. You see? That comes from having been in water. But the thing is, when they say that, you know, are they talking about the evolution of the human soul as it entered in the form of amoeba and it took on every form possible, and that once it reaches the human stage, that life spark has evolved to the highest in creation. I subscribe to that idea. You dig? I don't know if it's the truth or not, but I just subscribe to that idea. It just sounds marvelous. Okay. It makes mad sense, because when I look at myself, when you look at the development of the fetus in the womb, that human fetus takes on the form of a reptile, a mammal. I mean, it looks like damn near every little creature on its way to becoming a human. So if that's what the ancients were referencing, that little part, then fine, that works. And for the scientists today who say that the human physique, that if we did the reverse on our genetic evolution, we could go all the way back to when we were amoeba, I agree with them too. I agree with it because it makes sense to me until somebody brings a paradigm that would defeat it. In my logic, then I accept that idea as highly probable. I also do accept the idea that the human will is possible, but under which conditions I have yet to see anyone demonstrate. You see? Maybe.
All right, cool. Have you ever I remember researching a couple of years ago, and there's a group, I think it's called the Thunderbolt Project. There's this organization who's proposing the idea that Saturn used to be the main sun in our solar system. Is there any evidence of that, according to your science?
You asked me this before on the.
I did not.
Yeah, we discussed this on the 2019 prediction for the year 2019. But I'm going to tell you what that is. I don't know if Saturn was the sun. I can't refute that based on the idea that Saturn was a sun. So wasn't this Earth at one time a sun? That moon we look at was a sun. Mm-hmm. And it has gone through its evolution, through its planetary stage. Now it is the moon. Eventually it'll disintegrate a couple more billion years, right? It'll disintegrate and become dust, cosmic dust. So, and that dust will get gathered all up into a black hole, and that black hole will burst and give birth to as many suns, and the cycle will continue ad infinitum. So when we look at Saturn and Jupiter even, with its many moons, you have to consider that those moons aren't all made of the same shit. Some of the moons got methane on them. Some of the moons got water on them. Some of the moons got ice on them. Some of the motherfuckers are enveloped in gas. Some of those motherfuckers are just like rocks floating. So they didn't all happen at the same time. They didn't all come from the same place. And to understand that, you have to broaden your scope, your vision, as to what you think your model of the universe is. Because as they would tell you now that the moon came from the earth and the earth came from the sun, which don't make no motherfucking sense to me. Because if the moon, which is 1/6 the size of the earth, came from the earth, then it should be an awful big chunk where the fucking moon used to be. Okay, it don't. And then the moon, the surface of the moon should have the exact same properties as the surface of the earth where it was torn away. So I can't agree with that. I think that the moon at one time was a mighty roaring planet because it has craters that not only come from impact, but are the evidence of volcanic activity. So at one time that was a living planet. And before it was a living planet, it was a sun. And I think all these stars are baby planets. They're going to eventually become planets. So with that idea that Saturn used to be the sun of our solar system, then why isn't Earth one of Saturn's moons? Or did the cataclysm that caused our Earth to be conjoined with this sun snatch us away and demote Saturn? Like, I don't know, but the idea is probable. What you're talking now is cosmology, the science of the formation of the universe, as opposed to, no, not yet, cosmogony, you know, how God created all of this, you know, or just cosmic science, which is astrology. You know, there's a difference between the astronomy and the geology of other planets and astrological indication. You know, there may be a way to bridge that. I would not know of it at this point. Okay. But when you asked about the precession gives us a direct indication as to the development of the human psyche as a collective, you see? And you have to understand that they derive that measure from where the ecliptical plane and the celestial equator of the earth intersect on the first day of spring. But the people that discovered this cycle, the Egyptians, or the forerunners to the Egyptians, because I believe that the Egyptians inherited this knowledge from a source that was even more advanced than them, or more ancient than they were, you know. But at any rate, the they conceptualized the sun as the divine spark, galactically or on a planetary level, as indicative of the divine, and that the heliacal star rising in front of the sun was the vehicle of that divine impulse, that divine spark. So, in other words, they took the corona of the sun and let that be the determining factor of the age. But when you look at the place of the sun at 5 degrees Pisces, that puts the back end of the corona at 18 degrees Pisces. It puts the front end of the corona at 21 degrees Aquarius. And then you will find that in that margin from 21 degrees or 22 degrees Aquarius, to 13 degrees of Pisces, that this describes exactly where modern humanity sits today in terms of the development. There are those who are leading the pack in terms of scientific and technological advancement, and there are those who are still stuck in the age of Pisces and the mentality of the collective during that time. So you can still have witch doctors, you're still gonna have people that are trying to do the medicine thing as opposed to the scientific destructive thing. You're going to have both because the corona envelops both ends in that spectrum being 27 degrees wide. 13 degrees from the vernal point this way, 13 degrees from the vernal point this way, and the vernal point itself is 1 degree. So that's 27 degrees that explains where man is and his evolution collectively.
I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room once again, family. I'm with the brother Akhu. This is brother Rich. I want to take a few questions from the people. Our hour's about we've been on here for about an hour. The hour's up. I want to take a few questions from the people. Let y'all get an opportunity to ask the brother Akhu some questions. Make sure give your contact info. Just in case they won't make it to the end of the show, Akhu, give them the contact info, my brother.
Man, you could reach me any day of the year between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time exclusively. Let me stress that. You call me outside of that time margin and I might not answer. And it's more than likely I won't. But my phone number is 516-881-6992. You can go to my YouTube channel. It's YouTube.com/Akhu. Subscribe and follow me on Instagram, Cosmo361. Go check my website, Cosmophysics361. And I could go on and on, you know, with announcements and props, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna cut it right there. 516-881-6992 between 1 and 7 p.m. Eastern time. You want to talk?
Indeed.
5 minutes.
Indeed. So let's get to some questions. Family, make sure you show support also. Hit up the Cash App for Black Magic 363. You can go to Cash App. You could donate to $ Black Magic 363. We all know how important it is to donate to independent media to get this real information out there to the people that is very hard to come by these days. So make sure y'all show support. Let's see what the family.
And I'm not turning down donations either. My Cash App is $ Cosmo361. And that's Cosmo with a Z.
$ Cosmo361. Yeah, make sure y'all support those who support you. Anybody that can elevate your consciousness, make sure you return that favor in some way, even if it's pressing the like button, something. But let's see what is going on in the chat. Wow, so many questions. I don't know which one to
Hey, I'm still on the Zoom page. I didn't even go to the YouTube, just where I could see the chat. So whichever one you decide.
What's your take, Raku, on where the knowledge of astrology came from? Who gave us this language?
Wow. Personally, I'm gonna give you my personal first. I think that our women discovered it and expanded upon it. And there are different peoples expanded on different aspects according to what they noticed and what they implemented into their culture. And that the intermingling and amalgamations of cultures and people actually brought it to where it is today, right? But initially, I think that women discovered it. They would be the first to notice a physical cycle, you know, and the first to look for that cycle to manifest in other places consequently. So that's my take on how it originated. You know, woman saw that, though, every time the moon is here, I'm bleeding. Or, you know, sometimes it's close to here, it's a little bit there. I notice every time the men go out to hunt, when the moon is here, they come back with plenty. When the moon is over here, some of them don't make it back. So I think it was women who actually noticed it. And, you know, they passed it on to the shaman, and the shaman made it an institution.
Indeed. What do you have to say about the many traditions of astrology? I guess there's different branches. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it is an art and a science. It is an artistic science. It is a scientific art. Because it deals with the science of correspondences, its ability for discovery regarding its own practice, it's ever renewing itself. The ancient shit that works is what allows us to find new ways that it works. So it's an ever living, ever growing science. And the many traditions are that, you know, let's say I'm a dentist and I discover how to make cavities go away without using fillings or drill, right? But I haven't figured out how to keep them from happening altogether, right? So what? My shit is useless? No, it can be used when people catch cavities, right? So just because I haven't found out how to make the tooth regrow itself, don't mean my shit ain't useful. So because I discovered how to get rid of the cavity, and you discovered how to get in between them, and this person discovered how you can brush them, we put all of that together, and now we got the science of brushing teeth, and as long as it's followed, then, you know, the teeth will be healthy, right? So this is the same thing with tradition. Like, this society emerged an individual whose destiny was to focus on this measure and manifestation. And therefore, they institutionalized that. Where in another society at another time, using the same science, right? We discovered another method by which to reach valid conclusion. This is made an institution. So now we have two traditions. That's my take on tradition. I have my own tradition.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jay Royal wants to know, does a chart repeat itself generationally?
Yes and no. We have to put that in its proper context. No two charts would be the same. It takes about 4.32 billion years, give or take a few 100,000 years, for our solar system to reboot, to go back like a speedometer, right? So, and the odds, even then, the odds that they're identical isn't likely. You know, there's got to be some perturbance. That's the whole reason for vibration, and that perturbance creates some variation. What you have is planetary stations in your birth chart. They were sitting in a specific place when you were born. This is one method. This is not all of astrology either, okay? As planets contact those spaces or aspect those spaces we have where we apply transits to astrology, that cycle is repetitious, okay? Let's say you have the moon at 3 degrees Taurus. Every single year on April the 23rd, the sun is going to sit where your moon was. So there goes the repetition of your cycle. Mercury will eventually run over that place. Venus will eventually, and repetitiously, because these planets go around and around and around. But it doesn't repeat itself in so much as the chart expands as it moves. So let's say you get your Mars at the age of 2, right? By the time you get your second Mars at the age of 4, Mars has moved to another place in its evolution. So they're similar, they're not identical, and yes, they happen repetitiously, but they are evolving. And that is the necessity for formula and the necessity for mathematical measure. Because where your planets were the day you were born, they're not there anymore. They have moved the fuck on. See? And that motion shows your growth, your evolution with regards to what those planets point to.
Brother Huey P. Nuisance. I was thinking about this earlier, brother. I'm glad you put this in the chat. The brother said, what is time when now is forever? If time's an illusion, and we got this thing called the eternal now.
Time is not an illusion.
Well,
people say time, linear time is an illusion.
Right.
Okay? Linear time, not time. Because nigga, ain't nobody in that audience still shitting on themselves, screaming and crying. Y'all motherfuckers ain't 14 inches long no more. Okay? And the process of you getting from 14 inches to 5 feet to 5.5 feet to 6 feet took what? Don't tell me time don't exist simply because I can't put it in a bucket and weigh this shit. Because your mind, your thoughts, you can't put that shit in a bucket either and weigh it. So it ain't real. It ain't real to me because you can't put it in a bucket and weigh it. It's an illusion. No, motherfucker. It's a mental construct. Time is a fractal of infinity.
So would you say it's
it is as
subjective?
Real as all of this is. So if
would you agree that it's subjective?
Yeah, because there are universal laws that dictate time. Okay, it's not subjective, motherfucker. Every year it's cold in New York.
No, what I mean by that
Hold on. We are able to tell time because we are tracking the movement of something, or we are mapping the change of something. We know that it gets cold up north every fucking winter. See, that's a matter of timing. If time did not exist, then it would stay cold. It would ever be now. Now, the state of now is not forever the same. And the observation of its mutation is time. The observation of this mutation is time. Because nigga, if time doesn't exist, yesterday never was. You gonna tell me that your son wasn't born on the day he was born? That was in the past. He's here now. Okay? So now, then isn't the same as now. You dig? So there goes time for your ass. You can't take a bite of an apple and spontaneously chew it, digest it, and shit it out. There's a process, and that process, the space that the whole universe moves in that process, when measured, when that process is isolated, that is time. Time is as illusory as we are. We know that this shit is just a swarm of atoms. So this is an illusion. So in that sense, everything else is an illusion. Everything is a fucking illusion, and under that pretense, okay? But the reality is your perception of this illusion right now. You see? And then time exists there because your ass goes to sleep. You wake up at later times, daytime, nighttime. It does not stay the same. It is constantly changing. And when we conceptualize time, that is illusory because it is limited to the human consciousness, right? But you can't think that the state of the earth today is not the state of the earth a million years ago, will not be the state of the earth a million years from now. And the now that exists at that point will be the only reality. The now that exists right now is the only tangible reality. We have intangible realities. We have subjective objectives, for example, like your mind, nigga. It's a subjective point that you even have a mind. Well, I can speak, Rob. I'm speaking with you. That's proof that I have a mind right there. No, that's proof that you can speak. I don't see the mind working. I will never see the mind working. So that is subjective now. We can relegate that to the subjective. That's bullshit. Everything and everyone has a mind. So there are objective realities embedded in subjective philosophical perspectives, man.
Let's see if we could get one more question from the people. Universal Thought says, will I experience similar circumstances or losses and gains around the same time yearly?
Yeah, that changes gradually. Yeah, that's a yes. You will experience losses if you don't follow the laws of it not being a loss. In other words, I give you a bunch of apple seeds and tell you the best time to plant is the first day of spring or the first full moon in spring. So you hold on to them. You miss out on the plentiful. You can call that a loss. Okay? Now, so there's a timing mechanism for when it is good to do things and when it's not good to do things. And according to your seasons is the desirability or the undesirability, the success rate, the failure rate. You're not destined to fail always. You are destined to learn how not to fail. So when you come up against a Saturn motion, right? Let's say, I want to invest this money, but I'm having a Saturn motion. And you were born, your natal promise tells you that Saturn is the ruler. Let's say Saturn is your money planet. And it squares the sun. And you notice that every time transiting Saturn squares the sun and you make an investment, you lose. Obviously, that's not a good time for you to invest. And this is how we discover that too. We discover this through repetition, through observation. You know, the answers are not always there spontaneously. We need to see your chart. You know, that's another thing about this sign. A person can't just say, oh, I'm a Capricorn, so what do the stars have for me? Because you are all 12 signs of the zodiac. Your chart consists of all 12 signs. You are all 12 signs. This little belief you got about that your birthday sign is your sign is ridiculous. And number one, so to look at, they happen, but they happen in a rhythm. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. The course of the 360-degree sun, the sun moves faster through the signs of Pisces than it does through the signs of Leo. It stays in Leo for like 31 to 32 days. It stays in Pisces for like 28 to 29 days. Okay, but that's still 30 degrees of space. So when you understand that, the motion of the planets are fluctuating, then you understand why everything in life is fluctuating too. And that everything fluctuates together. That's the whole science of astrology. You dig? Your life force fluctuates with everything else here that's fluctuating with everything else here. And by the way, it's funny that we open up this show with the concept of spirituality and beliefs, us talking our beliefs and things, because I'm having a Neptune today. See, what the fuck does that mean? Rich is like, yeah, and right. So the influences of Neptunes, the subject of spirituality, mental, how do you say, intoxicants. All right, intoxicants, period, whether they're legal or not, like my Wiz got on me today about taking my vitamin. You dig? That is a medication. That is a Neptune thing. So
hold up, Rob.
Oh, day.
Rob, before we start the show, you told me something about Neptune in my chart.
Yeah.
Was my Neptune the Neptune you're talking about in your chart that made me call you?
Well, let me put it like this. That's likely because Neptune is the ruler of your communication house, first of all.
Okay. And you said Neptune is in my Jupiter or something like that.
I'm going to explain all that, man. You want me to reiterate? Let me tell you. I was looking at the fact that the brother was born with the sun in Virgo, okay? And I isolated the Virgo field because Rich ain't never really sat down with me for us to prove his ascendant degree. So I am just guessing at his ascendant degree, right? I'm pretty sure I'm correct. Yeah, I got the right sign. But the right degree, I can't do that in my head, right? What I was looking at was his sun sign. And I'm saying, yo, right now by transit, those people who know astrology know that in the current sky, Neptune is in Pisces. And it's been there since like 2012, and it'll be there till 2025. Okay. And because he's a Virgo sun, I can speak to his individual perceptions of reality. That's what the sun is, your individual perception of this reality, right? So because Neptune is in opposition to it, and oppositions deal with partnerships, I know that his partnership principle is being worked right now. And that according to the laws of Neptune, to the nomenclature, let's put it that way, of Neptune and Pisces, so which is dissolution. And it's dissolution of ideals. So he's actually been giving himself a reality check. Since 2012, he done got so real with it. You dig? Because he's been shattering all the myths and falsehoods, all the delusionals, all the make-believes, all of the Neptune shit. And we say shattering because the sun is in opposition to this. The sun is throwing his long ray, his destructive ray at it. Like you to understand that we are further away from the sun in summertime than we are in the wintertime. And that the sun's rays is like a lighter, the tip of the lighter is hotter than the base of the flame. You see, the blue part of the flame is cooler than the white part. So it's the same with the sun's rays. And with Neptune being opposition to that, he's destroying, he's dissolving the way you looked at partnerships, especially since 2012. You see? And his motion through Pisces touches on all kinds of shit, all kinds of behind the scenes activity. So you're changing your whole perception and involvement with that. See, and the urge to do so cometh without any beckoning on your part. because Neptune is there, the urge to do so manifests, and this is where you think you're making your choice. When the urge presents itself. You know, it's like when Saturn went into Capricorn in December of 2017. Since then, you have been seeing that you really can't depend on motherfuckers like you thought you could. And in the beginning of that motion, back in 2018, it was, yeah, I can't depend on these niggas. It's fucked up. I can't depend on these niggas. I'm always there when they need me. You've been going through that. You have been going through that. So then, at the end of this cycle, which is just this year, January, it was, I never needed them motherfuckers anyway. I never needed them niggas in the first place. Well, that's what you were being taught in the first fucking place. Now, tell me you chose, Mr. I'm on power of my fucking mind. Tell me you chose to put Saturn in the place of mutual assistance, especially with your creative endeavors. Can't count on nobody for that. Huh? That was creation telling you to make new decisions with regards to your motherfucking self-applied energy, your creative projects and all that. Yeah. So when people say, yeah, man, I decided, yeah, you decided when Saturn entered this point, motherfucker, right? Yeah. So did you really decide? I mean, that is the illusion. You got the option to decide when Saturn was there, and the option to decide based on the things that it points to didn't exist until it concurred. So, and it concurs, it doesn't cause. And that's the conflict too. People believe that the planets cause you to do that. I didn't get mad. It was Mars. Mars. I was having a Mars. No, you got angry, motherfucker. And Mars, you just gave indication to the fact that you were going to have access to that type of energy at that time. You see? So the planets don't cause shit. They just concur. You know, like the signifying monkey in the palm tree who says, oh shit, y'all, the gorilla getting ready to get his ass beat by the elephant. So now everybody in the jungle knows that the gorilla got his ass stomped out by an elephant. Is the signifying monkey the cause? I'm pretty sure it was something the gorilla did. Okay? So the signifying monkey is the stars. They just are signifying, they just signs as to what's going to happen. We can see from them the way a person is going to be, how they're going to live their life, even to the end of their days. Okay? And this description that I just gave you is straight out of the mouth of Herodotus. Herodotus said the Egyptians claimed that when there is a prodigy, and a prodigy, we ain't talking about the rapper. We talking about an event, a planetary motion, a prodigy, Mars through Taurus. He said that the Egyptians believed that whenever there was a prodigy, that a specific thing attached to that placement would occur. And that prodigy would move on to create other prodigies. And that when it came back to this place, it would give a similar description, would describe similar events. He said the Egyptians believed this. See, that's astrology, man. We were using astrology way back then. You know, it is the only science that has held up since the caveman days. All the rest of y'all come and go. Okay? Your nuclear physicists, your virologists, your genetic scientists, all of y'all niggas.
Cool, man. I lost you. You there?
Astrology gonna be.
Raku, you hear me?
I can't even hear you.
Raku. I think that's my internet.
Okay, no, it was my thing. I accidentally turned it.
Yo, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, you broke up for a second. But listen, man, I know it's 12:30 right now, man. I want to thank you once again. You's a crazy motherfucker, man. It's
I've been hearing that all my life.
Man,
I can't be sane because the minute I stick to somebody else's idea of what sanity is, I don't have access to all my
Yeah, I know. So that it's important. I'm glad that you understand that, man. I'm glad. It's very important to understand who you are, so to be the best person, you know, to be your best you know, or utilize your talents, man. So I'm glad you realized that, my brother. But yeah, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. It's always you always expand my mind or whatever, make me think about things that I haven't thought about before, my brother. So I definitely appreciate the talk. You know what's one thing I don't like about people that Raku, people that's into astrology, is that I feel as though sometimes you laughing already. Look at you.
Good. You're making a blanket statement about people that's in astrology.
Some people.
Yeah.
I feel like they use astrology to procrastinate on shit.
Oh wow, man. This is, you know, this is part 2 to the exact same show. You said this before.
I see. Yeah, I'm guessing.
Well, my thing is this here: a smart farmer will wait until the spring to plant his seeds. Okay.
Mhm.
If he could just go out there and grow any time of year, then he would. So a smart farmer uses strategy and timing, and you ain't gonna make no record tomorrow.
You know anybody?
Drop it when you think it should at an opportune time that you don't think it should be dropped.
Raku, you ever met anybody who uses Mercury retrograde as an excuse to sit on their ass? You ever met those?
Do you know that those are the people who I am debunking? See, those are not astrologers. Those are ASS, astrologers, nigga. They ass trolls. Because let me tell you something. The astrology, number one, Mercury retrogrades with the sun in a trine. Every 120 days, you get a Mercury retrograde. And it lasts for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes direct. This happens 3 times a year, forever and ever, amen.
Mm-hmm.
So those people who use it as an excuse to say, I can't do this and I can't do that, Ma Bell, AT&T, started. It was Ma Bell. Started in a Mercury retrograde, and they never went out of business. So it'd be smart to use that energy correctly. Those people who use it to procrastinate are procrastinators. It ain't got nothing to do with astrology. And number one, see, my definition of astrologer is way different than yours. All it requires of you is that a motherfucker claim that they can read your chart and be able to tell you anything about any planet or any sign or any house. And then they call themselves astrologers. You ask these same motherfuckers, how many minutes in a day? When is the sun fast or slow? You see? There are the best times to do things and the best times not to do things. If that's the case, I'll come knock on your door tomorrow at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning and expect you to receive me. Time for that. So when you say motherfuckers use it to procrastinate, I can tell you this, if you knew your Jupiter days, see, here we go. If you knew your Jupiter days and you knew your Saturn days, you would sit your Saturn days out eventually. You will learn, yeah, I'll sit this shit out. I'll sit this one. Good, whenever I bet and I'm having a Saturn, I don't win. Whenever I'm having a Jupiter and I bet I win something, right? At least I break even. But I never win with a Saturn. So when you call me, we'll figure out your Jupiter days and your Saturn days. So you need to ask these questions from hindsight, not foresight. Like, for example, I have a student. This nigga is also my partner. Okay, when I'm doing my lectures, stuff like that online, right? So he was like, yeah, he used to come to me every month for a reading. And after 1 year, he stopped, right? But I knew after the 3rd and 4th time what he was doing. He wasn't getting the reading because he really wanted it. He wanted to see if this shit was going to fall apart. Like, does this shit stay consistent? After a whole year, he's like, shit, that shit is real. It never not leave, you see? So you have to see it in retrospect, man. Just like I just did red pill the other day. All the time that I knew red, I only read him 1 time. And I don't think I really ingrained in him what he needed to be looking for, what he needed to see, or what he needed to observe. So I just did it the other day. And I was telling him, like, he was like, what I was describing to him, he was like, yeah, that already happened. That happened yesterday, what you described it. I said, but it permeates you for 3 days. And it permeates everything. The colors you see, the shit you're doing. He said, what colors is it? I said, blue and purple. He said, man, I am, as of 5 minutes ago, I was looking for a tie-dye hoodie that was blue and purple. He said, that is crazy. Really, it's not. We think that we are creating this shit. That's fine, because we are co-creators here on this plane. You know, you have to actually do the input, what the impulse says. And then once you do it, you co-create it. So I guess your choice is to participate in it consciously or unconsciously. That's the choice. Because you don't get to control how this shit turns out. That's the case. You play ball, don't you?
Yeah.
How come you can't jump like Jordan? Can't you just will? You should just will it. Fuck out of here. You should just will it to jump like Jordan. There are niggas in the NBA who can't jump like Jordan, God. So don't you think them niggas wish they could jump like Jordan? They don't have, why? Why can't they jump like Jordan? You don't think that they would if they're so choosy? When we get to talking about choice, that's what I'm talking about. Can you choose to have one green eye and one brown eye? Where's your choice? Yeah, I could go to the doctor and I can have him operate on the eye. I believe that the moon and Mars will be telling at the time that you are able to do it too. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Astrology, they heard me.
Hey, man. Well, once again, my brother, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Leave your info one more time because you could never say it enough times.
All right, call me at 516-881-6992 between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time. That's when I'm taking calls, general calls. Okay.
All right. So, man, how you holding up during this whole Corona thing? You doing all right, my brother? You good?
Well, man, I am a Cancer rising.
Uh-huh.
I tend to stay home anyway.
Right.
So this stay home thing is what I do naturally. I don't notice any difference at all. What I do notice is that business has slowed slightly, but it doesn't look abnormal. In other words, I have a slow week every month. This slow week turns into a slow 3 weeks. Now that'll be a problem, but I doubt it. Because, you know, my phone.
You know it's going to pick up after this show, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you know it too.
That's why I got to let you know when I call. It's like,
hey, look, God,
brother.
let me tell you something. Your show, the Pill Show, whenever I do a show with somebody else, it improves my business standing. It gives boost to my business. So I thank you. I am appreciative for the opportunity to sit on your platform and gather new clientele, okay? But that shit works for me whenever I'm on anybody's shit.
Dope.
If I do a show for somebody else, I get crazy following. YouTube, I got 200 likes, 5,000 views on my biggest fucking joint, right? I do your shit'll be in the 20s by tomorrow.
Dope.
So to my YouTube station, watch my YouTube videos, man. You know, because that's where I'm giving out lessons. I really am making public appearances for those who want to grasp this science and take it to the next level. There's a real big thing that it's not just our people, it's everybody across the board. They have dumbed people down. You know, think about the subject matter that they were teaching in the Renaissance Europe after the Moors left, okay, and while the Moors were there. Okay, they were studying astrology, astronomy, geography, anatomy, physiology, literature, philosophy, You had to get all of that. Now you take a few electives, you specialize in this area, you get your degree, and it really don't even matter if you really know that information. It is not the same quality of mind today that it was back in the day. So the quality of the mental sciences has dwindled. Like there are so many studio technicians out here now that we can make music. I can make music. I'm not a musician. I can make music with my computer. But you give me a band and I'm with a bunch of instruments. I don't want to play the trumpet. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't want to play the trombone or the guitar, the electric guitar, none of that. So they have provided a shortcut for everything now. It used to be you had to buy books. You can get them shits online. PDF now. You see, you needed a physical library. You don't. So what you're getting now today that they're calling astrology is some fucking hogwash. Because these astrologers aren't making measures. They're depending on the computer without the faintest clue as to what formula the computer's using. Or more accurate logarithms for the formula than what this computer service is implementing. They don't even know that. So, you know, I really can't say that it's going to blow up, because it's always going to be for a selective mindset of people. You see, it's only going to be for people who have a specialist mentality. You gonna have
Hey, man, listen, man. Well, we about to end it, man. I want to get you back on here probably sometime next month, my brother. Get you on here at least once a month, you know what I'm saying?
Well, however frequent, I'll make time for you, God.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. This is Brother Rich family, Akhu. I want to thank everybody in the chat room, and we getting out of here, family. Peace.
Peace.